Welcome back to the Purpose Over Profits podcast. I'm Jim Floyd, owner of Ascent Total Performance.
Hey, and I'm Jeremy Powers, owner of Powers Insurance Experts.
All right. So today we're going to continue our leadership series, and this is going to be kind of the last content episode with that. But I think it's going to be a good topic.
That's all right. I mean, I am excited. I'm like, like pumped up.
Ready to go.
Because we got to maintain. We've been doing this whole time.
Yeah.
We've got to maintain, even though it's our last content episode.
Yeah.
Guess what? We still have to lead when we walk out of that door.
Yeah.
You know,
you got to stay in your seat, though. Daniel will get mad.
That's right.
And we don't want that.
I like to bend the rules a little bit. I'm just playing. So that's awesome. Well, man, it's going to be a fun episode. Ultimately, today, we're going to talk about how to sustain that peak performance, that top leadership, the abilities as you are getting down in the ruts from time to time.
Yeah, and honestly, that's one of the hardest things that we have to do as a leader is making sure that we're staying on those things.
That's right.
And so now we've talked about in some previous episodes about how we build a team and how do we foster that culture of really high performance and all that stuff. But I think it might be a good little just quick review to kind of go through a couple of those things so then we can get to, so then how do we sustain that as well?
Absolutely.
So when we look at, I think one of the biggest keys for having that high performance team and high achievement and all that kind of stuff is the culture that we set. And it all starts with us too. Yeah. We need to make sure that we're coming in, we're bringing it every day. We're living what those expectations are that we set for everybody else. And I think a lot of that too is especially for me is I want to make sure that everybody sees that I enjoy what I'm doing and I'm passionate about it. And I truly believe in the values that we establish for our company, and that pervades in every single thing that I do, whether it's working with a patient or mentoring one of our staff or any decision that I make, and really being adamant about that and passionate about those things. I think that goes a long way in kind of establishing that culture.
I think you're absolutely right. And for me, ultimately we talked about an episode a few weeks back. We were talking about leading through chaos. Yeah. And how cool is that title? But, for me, I almost feel like we're there today in my industry. Yeah. This is our, I don't want to say COVID, but this is our difficult part, because every single week we have carriers sending us letters saying, hey, we're not writing new business. Yeah. Or, hey, we're non-renewing this segment of business. Or if you want to write a piece of business with us, not only do you have to press the buy button, but we're not going to sell it. Then you've got to then fill out this 18-page questionnaire, answer all these things, then send it to us, and then give us 7 days, and we'll determine if we're going to take the risk. Yeah. So when you're going through that chaos, like you said, you still have to be on for your team, but also be real and be transparent with your team. It can be tough. And so you want to sometimes just get down, but you have to be like, you know what? We're going to win anyway. Yeah. It's that win. It's everything you've been through up to this point. You didn't get here to fail. Yeah. You didn't get here to say this is the finish line. And your team is looking for you when they don't understand something. Like you said a moment ago, they're looking to you and saying, hey, if we can't believe in it right now, we need to believe in you. Yeah. Because you are, no matter how it happens, every single time, no matter how thin that wall is, you always wiggle your way through and we come out on the better end. Yeah. And that's that team that you want during this time when people are more than ever saying, is this the right industry for me? Is this the right this? Is this the right that? No, like, hey, we're going to do this together. It's not going to be easy, but guess what's going to happen when it gets easy again? We're going to be able to conquer. Kill it. And that's what we're looking at. And what high performing takes me back to, a little story on me is 2015 was when I really dove into becoming a better leader. When I really started, like for me, I always jokingly say, like, I'm an Eagles fan, so it's hard to say, but Tom Brady, the GOAT. I mean, really the GOAT. The dude took care of his body. He took care of his mind. He was a true leader. He might have been arrogant. It's that perfect mix between cocky confidence and humility, And so, but the thing I tell everyone is he did not become Tom Brady because he played football on Sunday. it was Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
And it was Sunday before the game and it was Sunday after the game.
Yeah.
It was that mindset, that work ethic that created greatness.
Yeah.
And so for me, what I learned in that moment is, Jeremy, if you want to be great, I was already top, winning these awards and All-State Center, but I didn't care truly. It was whenever I had started with Steve. It was right when that time had happened. I said to myself, Jeremy, if you're now in this position of leadership, you got to step up. And so I read my first ever book, which was actually Brendon Burchard. And what takes me back to the title is it's called High Performance Habits.
Yep.
And it was a book in the first 3 chapters. Guess what they talked about? Your health.
Yeah.
You have so much more mental fortitude whenever you take care of your body.
Yep.
And when you focus on what you're eating and understand it's a machine, when you focus on taking that time to take care of yourself and seeking the right medical help when you need to, and if you can take care of this temple, man, what you can accomplish is almost impossible. Like, you almost make the impossible possible.
Yeah. So we know that, so being in that high performing, high achievement, creating that culture and that atmosphere within our company starts with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the other big aspects is who you bring into
mm-hmm.
your company as well. And really being adamant about, if you have a question about somebody, if they're going to fit or if they're going to approach things the right way, probably not the right fit then. Mm-hmm. And really not allowing yourself to, this person might be okay, and then, give them a chance kind of thing. If we want to have that culture of high achievement and people who are really bought in, we need to be big sticklers about those things. Our core values is somebody's going to really adhere to those and believe in those and want to push with things too. And really we need to lay that out there as leaders, even in that onboarding process, or even the hiring process before you even bring somebody on, of just like being really intentional and really frank about this is how we do things and this is where we're going and this is what we're going to do. If that excites you, great. But if it doesn't, that's okay, but you're not going to be a good fit.
That's right.
And being really adamant about that and not allowing someone come into your organization that is not just not the greatest thing, but not a true believer in what you're doing, because all that's going to do is just going to pull everybody down versus everybody rising.
That's right. Well, and it's so true, because there's going to be somebody on the team that has to be the positivity and optimism.
Yeah.
There's going to have to be someone that has to be the, hey, like, I'm holding on to the balloon to keep it down because we can't float away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm the balloon. I'm the one that's trying to go to the sky, but having that person in your organization, it's that team effort. It's having that clear and open communication, understanding whatever it is. But when you're focusing on being that high performer, you've got to take care of yourself. There's this beautiful thing called work-life balance. Mm-hmm. For me, what I will tell you that I absolutely love and what keeps me on fire, even on the hardest of days like today, is that I don't, this almost hurts to say, I don't believe in work-life balance. Yeah. I believe that it's called life.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that you don't need to go home and just talk about work, and you don't need to but like, your family, my kids know more about insurance than probably most people do. You know what I mean? Like, but we talk about it. Olivia jokingly asked me to quiz her all the time on this, that, and the other, but it's like, or business stuff. She loves to hear the positive things about the team and what are they up to and what are they doing. But she also asked me sometimes, Dad, has anything been hard? Yeah. Have you done? And I can feel her wanting to soak up, like, at 10 years old, wanting to soak up and learn, like, life's not easy. Like, what about the hard things? Yeah. And it's like, man, like, if you're learning these at 10, not that it's all going to stick with you and you remember it. Probably she just asked me and then she runs off and does her own thing and probably forgets half of it. But man, like, there's a beautiful thing about life. Yeah. And if you love what you do, it should exude from who you are. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And then that takes care of everything with that. And there's and as soon as you started going into the work-life balance stuff, I was like, man, I don't think either one of us really believe in that. That's right. So I'm glad you went where you went with that. That's right. 100%. Yeah. And because it's one of those things that you hate to say, because so many people and it's something that I'm willing to be tested on. Yeah. I want someone to prove to me that there's a there's a definition of work-life balance because so many people talk about it, and there's so many people that I respect that do talk about it. And there's a guy in our industry that talks, it's called work-life harmony. That's what he's kind of coined it as, you know. And so I, you know, once again, I'm not willing to say that somebody doesn't have this perfect definition, but to me, it's like, it's just life. And you spend so much time where you work for your family. Because you want for them, and then you work because, you know, obviously because you have to provide, but then your family is like, you're going to spend most of your time at work. So it's like, it all has to be interwoven. You can't just build all this stuff up. And that's the biggest thing I tell to my team. Sometimes I force people to take time off because I can tell, like in our environment that we're in right now, it's scary, you know, and it's like, hey man, like it brings this level of stress, and leaders, look at your team. Like, do you want to watch an organization fall apart faster than ever could? Do you want to lose your high performance when you lose 4 team members and you're operating with 30, 40, 50% less of your staff because you weren't having EQ? Hey, you know, you weren't, you know, go back to a previous podcast episode if you were like me and didn't know EQ, you know, but if you don't have the ability to meet your people in that moment, you want to be a high performer, be a servant leader. You know, and really care about other people. Because once again, it's like you talked about in last episode, you like to pass the ball off for other people to make shots, and it made you feel good because you got to see them be successful. You want to feel good. You want to feel like you can just, like you're ready to charge hell with a water pistol. Watch your team do something good. You know, and if you struggle with jealousy, then I'll tell you, got a bigger problem to work with.
That's not a good, you know, not a good recipe at all. And I really like that concept of making the having, I'm kind of losing my train of thought right now. I lost it.
That's okay. That's all right. So once again, that's okay. That's the beauty of the guys. We just want to show you that, look, we're normal people too, you know? Well, for me, it was, and this is something that I think you'll love that we're going to go into it next, where you can certainly make up for your Jeremy Powers moment. But it's continuously improve your processes. You know, that's just a process is something to just get Jim's all excited. He's probably just a little down because we hadn't said the word process in too long. So, but it's a true high performing leader is not willing to believe that everything is okay the way it is. They're not going to change everything every moment, but they're willing to say, what can we do to make it better? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. And we're always going to be examining ways that we're going to be able to foster that environment. And we need to have process associated with that, even if it's something so. And I kind of remember what I was going to say before, and I'll work it into this part now. So in my profession, medical profession is a high burnout profession. And the biggest thing that we have to look out for that is, like, are we starting to see symptoms of that? And we are, especially us as physical therapists, we get to have great relationships with our patients and we care a lot about them. And that's an awesome thing, but it can also be a very big thing that you have to monitor, because that can go the wrong way pretty easily. And so, and I like what you were saying about having, making sure you're monitoring staff to see, and you're starting to see if they're starting to get a little bit overwhelmed and all those kind of things. And so we have to do that a lot. And one of, I kind of build it into our core values, is that we take care of ourselves first, and we have to monitor that. And we have to monitor, do we love what we're doing right now? Do we love working with these people? And if not, that's an okay thing, but we need to take steps to address that too. And part of our responsibility in being able to continue to foster that environment of high achievement and all that stuff is making sure that everybody's in the position to be able to continue to be that. So if we work in process with that, then we need to make sure we're having check-ins frequently, and whether it's a one-on-one check-in or just a quick couple-minute conversation, is like, how you're doing, and that might lead to, maybe we need to have a bigger conversation, or this person, you can just tell they're burnt out right now, they need to have a day off, or just like, hey, let's go, why don't you go take a longer lunch or something like that, or do something, or just encourage them. It was like, make sure you're doing stuff outside of what we're doing here, because you need to make sure you have that life outside of that too, and really pushing that and making that the expectation too. And, you know, I'm like the clinic dad kind of thing, company dad. And so it's, I kind of laugh about it, but it is really a really a role that I embrace of, I'll see some of our staff starting to get a little bit worn down, whether so just maybe their patient load is a little bit more. That's not exactly what they want to be able to see, or just there's some different cases that are a little bit more challenging, that kind of thing. We're starting to get worn down, is to be able to recognize that. And it's like, hey, I appreciate you really caring about these people and all that stuff. You need to make sure you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And make sure that you're going to go and do things.
Well, on that note, and I think that's so important, is that so many of us work in organizations where we can't control like that. We could be doing everything like we're supposed to, and all of a sudden everyone has a 40% rate increase.
Yeah.
And then you are literally playing therapist, or someone's not making the progress.
Yeah.
Because they're not healing the way that maybe they think, how fast they think they should. And it's, you know, and then all of a sudden people suffer from that, oh my goodness, like I can't get them to understand or see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so, you know, working in those things, but I know that we're on time, but there's really two quick things I want to talk about before we go out. And I want to talk about, number one, collaborate, have your team as well collaborate with industry peers.
Yeah.
Because whenever you want to keep that high performance you up there, talk to people who understand what you're going through, people that have maybe been through it before, people that have maybe not been through it yet, and you're able to help them, and you get to feel that admiration and that confidence boost there from you're helping someone, but then you have the other person helping you. So it's understanding that industry is important in your industry to work with those people, but it's also, and this is where we can finish it out, is goal setting.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about the long-term goals and the middle goals, the yearly, but then it's like those little milestones. If you want to stay highly productive, for you and your team, have those goals to where you guys can accomplish it. Billy Wagner, an agency in Florida, they do this beautiful thing where they get everyone together. They have their report cards that they go through, but the goals are on there, both personal and developmentally. Mm-hmm. And even at their once a year retreat that they do to kind of go over everything, they're seeing every month, they're seeing what people's progressions levels are. Yeah. But then at the year, they celebrate the accomplishment and the victories, but it's the accountability and all that with the goal setting. If you talk about wanting to maintain high performance, bring some accountability and some goals along with all these things.
Yeah.
And I'll let you kind of add to that, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, and I really like that, because we want a team that pull each other up, and we continue to raise that bar versus pulling down. And I really do think goals play a big role in that. Of we all want to have, especially people who want to get after it and really, really push things. They want to have those things to strive for, and having specific plans made, but also I think there's that social part of it too, of, you know, so we have our goals out there, this is what we're doing and this is what we're reporting on, and we're making sure to do that. And then that just becomes this big feed forward mechanism, and everybody's involved in those things too. And it's a really powerful thing to maintain that atmosphere.
Yeah. So, and I love that we're bringing up and we're openly talking about the fact that you have to keep an open mind to being a high performer. Like it's not like you make it. It's not like a level you get to and you stay there. It's like something you have to look at. It's something you have to pay attention to. And I feel like a lot of people are too scared to truly talk about the fact that, like, oh, you're not always on, you know, and I really am happy that we do that.
And it's, I think it's something where it's going to be a continuous process. And part of it, like we were talking about before, of how do we build that initially is, on us, it's on the team that we bring in, and then just that continued push with that too, is we still need to be the driver of that. And it's also something too of not being shy. It's like, yeah, I want to be stinking awesome, and I want us to be the best that we can be, and we don't we don't settle for anything that's less than that. But of course, it's not going to be, I'm going to be 100% all the time.
Yeah,
it's impossible to be able to do that. And so even when we model on the days when we're at 75%, is those things of we're still going to be setting the tone. But also our staff needs to understand that it's okay to not be like, I'm going balls to the wall all the time kind of thing, because that's not a doable thing too. So we talked about how do we get there? How do we maintain? And I think that's a good stopping point for where we are. And so as always, everything that we talk about is always purpose rooted. And we fully believe, and I know we say it all the time, but as we talked about in one of the previous podcasts, is we need the repetition with what we say. So it's always, that purpose is always going to lead to success and profits in our business.
Amen.